Uban yan boko Amadu mai hawar da neman alhaji ga mai zane uban yan boko Amadu mai hawar da
The labor of our heroes past shall never be in vain, and one hero whose memories always linger in our minds and stands out as constant as the northern star, versatile and strong as the Iroko tree, Ahmadu Bello, the first and only premier of northern Nigeria, who served between 1954 and 1966. He was also the President General of the dominant political party in Nigeria, the Northern People's Congress, NPC. Trained as a teacher and administrator, he held the traditional title of Sardauna within the Sokoto Emirate system. The memories of this statesman will continue to linger in our minds, taking cognizance of the giant strides he laid down for the people of the defunct northern Nigeria, in particular, in uplifting the people's standard of living, development in all spheres of human endeavor, such as education, agriculture, and infrastructural development. We will always cherish the unforgettable era of cooperation, unity, and mutual interdependence amongst the various people of the defunct northern Nigeria, whose special character lies in the old northern tradition, which has always discounted ethnic differences and emphasized on the virtues of building a greater community together. This and more were the legacies of the late Sir Ahmadu Bello, Sardauna of Sokoto and Premier of Northern Nigeria. Kamji. In June 1909, a child is born to the family of Ibrahim, and the child is called Ahmadu. Sometimes between the ages of 3 and 5, Ahmadu began his Quranic studies. In Sokoto province between 1909 and 1926, there were a few major developments in colonial administration, except the gradual strengthening and consolidation of central authority and the beginnings of formal Western education. Within the northern region as a whole, the foundations were being laid for more effective administration, and education was seen as the key. This required teachers, and specifically the training of local teachers. No doubt then, Western values as well as Western skills were being taught, and Katsina College would be the ideal place for nurturing of such values and skills. Thus, Ahmadu Bello was at Katsina College from 1926 and graduated in 1931. Ahmadu Bello had earlier been sent to Sokoto Provincial School, the only modern school in the whole of Sokoto province then. On completion of Katsina College in 1931, Ahmadu was appointed to be a teacher in Sokoto Middle School under the then native authority. Ahmadu was known as Ahmadu Raba or Dodo Raba, which means likely successor to the district headship of Raba. In 1934, when Ahmadu's cousin, who was district head of Raba, died, Ahmadu was asked to replace him. As such, at the age of 24, he was to become one of the youngest district heads and left Sokoto for Raba after almost 14 years of living away. It was to be his first step in the administrative ladder. In 1938, after the death of Sultan Hassan, Abubakar III was selected as Sultan, and within a short period of time, his title of Sardauna was given to Ahmadu, who for all practical purposes then becomes known as Ahmadu Sardauna or Ahmadu Bello Sardauna of Sokoto. Gusau, 133 miles from Sokoto to the east, was in many respects the commercial capital of Sokoto province. The 14 eastern districts were to be put under a new administrative framework. since communications with Sokoto were difficult then. A councillor from Sokoto was to be put in charge of these eastern districts and coordinate the activities of the district heads in the area. A sub-treasury was also established in the new headquarters in Gusau, and the councillor was to be the new Sardauna Amadou. After the conviction and subsequent acquittal by an appeal court on the celebrated tax case, the effort to try to remove the Sardauna from Gusau proves his biggest challenge and the preliminary launching of his political career. In 1949, Sardauna Amadou was elected into the House of Assembly, which met twice a year in Kaduna. The game of politics is about to begin, and all eyes and ears focus on the rule of the game.
Sardauna was a real leader, a leader that embraced everybody, irrespective of his religion or tribe. It is interesting to know that this great man extended his hand of cooperation to the late chief of Kagoro, a Christian from a minority tribe in southern Zaria, and the two of them became the best of friends. Again, because of his background and training, he had honesty, transparency, accountability, and integrity. Sardauna, if you read his book, My Life, said, I want to be remembered as somebody that has worked for his people. For in the next world, I will be judged not by the amount of money I have hoarded, but by the amount of service I have rendered to the people. And that was why when he died, he was in the red. He was owing the bank.
Sardauna's voice was the people. His effort was the people. His future was the people. His sense of direction was the people. In other words, government of Sir Ahmadu Bello was after working for the people of the North. Materialism was completely out of it. He was never interested in how much money he should have, nor is he in competition with the big Alhaji or big chief who is a commercial person, a businessman, having millions. They are not on competition. This is a business one. His business is to make money, trade. His own was a leader. He wants to lead. All he was after was good leadership. If you give good leadership, you get good respect. And that is the disease which is now our main problem. You see, if you do that, then you will have an idea of what Sir Ahmadu Bello was all about. He lived for, he worked for, and he died for the people. He was told many times, if you continue with this policy with northernization, north for the northerners and the westerners, you may get to hell. He said, Alhamdulillah. Alhamdulillah. If I die in a sincere course of serving my people, no problem. That would be a good ending. And it came true. He died because of the people, because his offense was that he was able to make northerners equal to other people. And because there were more northerners than anybody else in Nigeria, people thought he was trying to dominate them. But he wasn't. He was trying to build a people with sense of belonging, with equal opportunity. You see, that was Sir Ahmadu Bello, and that was his team. People like Sakashim Ibrahim, Aliyu Makam Bidda, Alhaji Isa Keita, to the region, Alhaji Abubakar Tafawa Balewa, Alhaji Musa Yaradua.
I knew Sardauna 1956 in Gusau, when he was now then Minister of Local Government, and later happens to be very close to him when I was appointed member of the Northern House of Assembly in 1961. Since then, I was very close to him. He wanted to Nigerianize all the businesses and administration in the country. So he called the civil servants. He have told them that here we are today, Allah has given us the country in our hand, and I want you to justify our position, to be honest, to dedicate yourself in the way that the country will prosper, to achieve what we should achieve in life.
Ahmadu Sardauna was sworn into the Northern Region House of Assembly in 1949, and for the next 2 to 3 years he was commuting from Sokoto to Kaduna during budget sessions in January, February and March before the budget comes out in April. He also attends the ordinary sessions of about a week each through July to December. The Sardauna develops his reputation of being an orator, social and articulate personality. He makes many friends and people troop to his residence, for he was one personality who continued to help people with financial problems. But he has a reputation of being honest in dealing with public funds. Kaduna became the melting place and meeting place for the evolving political activities, culminating in the just convention of the Northern People's Congress (NPC) on Monday, 26th April 1954, when the Sardauna Ahmadu Bello emerged as the leader of the party. According to Second Republic President Alhaji Shehu Shagari Turakin Sokoto, the Sardauna's vision and mission was to bring all the people of the North together to feel as if they come from one family. The Turaki also recollects when they were in Medina attending the Hajj. After lunch at the lodge of the late Premier and everyone was leaving, the Premier asked Alhaji Shehu Shagari and the late Sheikh Abubakar Gumi to stay back, after which he directed Sheikh Gumi to accompany Shehu Shagari to the tomb of Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam and ensure that he prays and promises that whenever anyone does anything bad to him, he will in turn repay the person with kindness. After going through all this, they went back to the Sardauna, who now told them that the secret of progress in life lies in being able to repay evil with kindness. And because of the leadership qualities he sees in Shehu Shagari, he, Shehu, must imbibe this attitude.
Solid foundation of educational and industrialization of northern Nigeria. I think what I said in terms of education and agriculture and industries relative to the resources available to them then, and their tolerance of opposition when you are talking of politics now, I think it's good that the northern governors now have decided after 43 years to honor him and even a foundation for him. But as I said, the man has set a foundation for himself that will...
As leader, Sardauna Ahmadu Bello was held delegations that carried out negotiations, consultations and conferences in the United Kingdom and the roadmap to self-government and independence for Nigeria. After the conference proper, Sardauna Ahmadu Bello delivered his speech on behalf of the northern delegation. After the conference, a dinner party was held, and in the course of the visit, Sardauna also hosted northern Nigerian students in the United Kingdom, assuring them of genuine assistance and encouragement to make them excel and come back to contribute their own quota to the development of the North. The Sardauna's vision and mission had always been to see to the industrialization of the North, As such, while in the United Kingdom, he visited some industries to map out strategies and ideas of the North's industrialization. No doubt, the Northern impact on shaping the rules had much to do with the political power which the Sardauna had organized through the dominant party, the NPC. His skill was in working with people, and a large and diverse team provided the backbone of Northern power. Sardauna's style is relatively simple and reflects the values which are prized in Northern culture. Another historic day was 14th March 1959 at the Lugard Hall, Kaduna, the night of transfer of power on the last stage before full membership of the Commonwealth. The Sardauna, as head of the Council of Ministers, received the title deeds of government to hold the people in trust. The following day, a tumultuous crowd by standards then trooped out to Lugard Hall, Kaduna, to witness history in the making of one of the most important days in their life, self-governance in the North. The governor reappointed Sardauna as the premier and president of the Northern Nigeria Executive Council by virtue of his position as leader of the dominant political party, the Northern People's The spirit of brotherhood and friendship of all peoples of the North was displayed during the self-government celebrations. All tribes and ethnic groups in the region were represented. The Sardauna's quest to industrialize the North had always been unshakable, and as part of the celebration, an exhibition to woo investors was organized. Children, as leaders of tomorrow, were also enjoined by the Sardauna to study hard and join in the building of a new North. The Duke of Gloucester was also present to lay the foundation stone of a new legislative building housing chambers of the House of Assembly and House of Chiefs at Lugard Hall, Kaduna. And with the elections coming up, political campaigns also took off, and the Sardauna went round the entire region propagating the slogan of One North, One People, and One Destiny, as in this campaign rally in Kano. Politicians from other regions also took to the campaign trail. Chief Awolowo of AG, Dr. Namdi Azikiwe of NCNC, and Malam Aminu Kano of NEPU. The election results established the dominance of the Northern People's Congress (NPC) in the political landscape of Nigeria, and Alhaji Abubakar Tafawa Balewa was invited to Lagos to form the central government. Alhaji Abubakar Tafawa Balewa and Sardauna Ahmadu Bello, alongside leaders from other regions, were in London for the Independence Conference, Independence Day, 1st October 1960. The Prime Minister, Alhaji Abubakar Tafawa Balewa, received the independence documents from representative of the Queen of England, Princess Alexandra, after which the Prime Minister delivered his address.
Today is Independence Day. The 1st of October 1960 is a date to which for 2 years every Nigerian has been eagerly looking forward. At last, our great day has arrived, and Nigeria is now indeed an independent, sovereign nation. Words cannot adequately express my joy and pride at being the Nigerian citizen privileged to accept from your Royal Highness these constitutional instruments which are the symbols of Nigeria's independence. Finally, I must express our gratitude to Her Royal Highness, the Princess Alexandra of Kent, for personally bringing to us these symbols of our freedom, and especially for delivering the gracious message from Her Majesty the Queen. And so, with the words, God save our Queen, I open a new chapter in the history of Nigeria and the Commonwealth, and indeed of the world.
Princess Alexandra also delivered a speech.
Everything commands from the Queen to read to you the following message from Her Majesty to her people of Nigeria. I have entrusted to my cousin the duty of acting as my representative at the celebration of the independence of our country.
Princess Alexandra was also in Kaduna, capital of northern Nigeria, and was received by the governor, his wife, and the Sardauna. The representative of the Queen of England, Princess Alexandra, on the visit to northern Nigeria, was also accompanied by the Sardauna to the ancient town of Bida. Princess Alexandra was also treated to a colorful Durbar in Sokoto. As the first and only premier of Northern Region, the late Sardauna Sir Ahmadu Bello's legacies will forever linger in the minds of the people. He has left his mark in the sands of time in areas such as Nigeria's political development, traditional leadership, civil service, development strategy, religious issues, and consolidation of community. Other areas include communications and agricultural schemes, industries, and infrastructure.
Yes, he worked for the people, in particular in the field of education, for example. When Sardauna became the premier, there are only 2 secondary schools in the entire north. The traditional Kaduna College, now Balewa, as I said earlier, and the Kefi College, which was opened a couple of years ago, a couple of years before independence. These were the only 2 secondary schools in the entire north region. But in 7 years, from 1959 to 1966, he established secondary schools in all the 13 provinces of the north. Each province had either a technical school or a college of technology, and he also built teachers' colleges, and above all, he was able to establish a university, Ahmadu Bello University in Zaria, all in 7 years. So then I realized that the level of development of a nation is the level of its education. And he paid attention to education. he was spending about 40% of his budget on education in those days. He and Awolowo paid a lot of attention to education, because Awolowo was spending about 50% of his budget on education. They were able to achieve a lot. Again, because he was concerned about the welfare of the people, a good leader, he warned his ministers and all those in the party to concentrate on their work. He believed in the division of responsibilities. Some people are destined to be rulers, some are destined to be businessmen, some are destined to be teachers, some are destined to be beggars, but all of us need one another. We are complementary to one another. But we should stick to our own sphere of responsibility. Sardauna religiously believed in that, because he used to tell us, you cannot run and at the same time be scratching your buttocks. You cannot do two things at the same time. Said any of my ministers that is interested in business should resign, and I will encourage him. But you can't be a minister and a businessman at the same time. Businessmen spent their money and voted us into power so that we might protect and promote their interest. It would be unjust, it would be unfair and unjust for us to go into their field. So Sardauna never encouraged any of his people to go into business. Said it was not their business to be in business. Their business was to administer, to rule. And that was why they were elected, to look after the people, protect and promote their interests. Now, as a result of that, any new enterprise that was brought from abroad or any new industrialist that came into the north to establish industries, he would inquire, he would try to find out the people that were in that particular area and invite them and join them with these foreign partners. The question of what you would get or how much you would bring did not arise. All that he would tell the people, don't let us down. Sardauna, therefore, during that period of time, 7 years, established the Northern NNDC to look after the farmers.
The Sardauna consolidated the North. The secret of Sardauna's power was that he was democratic. He allowed subordinates to take decisions and supported them. Within the traditional gift-giving sector, the generosity of the Sardauna was legendary and financed from various sources, but not least from bank drafts. At his death, the military leaders who checked on his personal account were surprised at his lack of assets and in fact the size of the drafts. Sardauna's sense of public probity extends to his willingness to go through proper channels in handling all issues. Sir Ahmadu Bello was a nationalist with a difference. He was a federalist and saw federalism as the key to large-scale unions in Africa and elsewhere. Within the national context, Sir Ahmadu Bello was insistent. Let us not forget our differences. Let us understand our differences, and in so doing, build unity in our country. A great man indeed, Sir Ahmadu Bello, Sardauna of Sokoto and Premier of Northern Nigeria. Death came knocking for this great man of all times, Sir Ahmadu Bello, Sardauna of Sokoto, first and only Premier of Northern Nigeria, with the attack on his residence by dissident soldiers on the 15th of January 1966. The late singer Musa Dankwero captured the mood in his hit song after the death of the Sardauna, in which he sang and lamented, "It is better to die in honor than be disgraced." Ahmadu is beyond being looked down upon. No one can look down on him. A fixed pole is difficult to uproot. And so ended an unforgettable era. The Sardauna's early experience in life was based on simplicity rather than pomp. He appeared to have had no fear of the unknown and was quite willing to try new things, which may be related to an enormous amount of self-confidence which was apparent from early years. The quality of generosity which is valued in our culture was a distinguished feature of Sir Ahmadu Bello even at a young age. What he has, he shares with others. Also worth mentioning is that under the direction of the Sardauna, the Northern Civil Service had an esprit de corps which was quite distinctive. They shared certain skills, including high levels of proficiency in administrative ability. They shared a code of ethics which emphasized their roles as providing the infrastructure for government. The civil servants then shared a common work ethic and the willingness to take on assignments without any strings attached. Indeed, under the influence of the Sardauna, the civil service enjoyed accelerated training programs and university degree programs, particularly by the third-generation civil servants.
So, during my stay with the Honorable Premier, I understood him to be somebody very hard-working, conscientious, and patriotic. So we used to start very early in the morning and close late at night. I used to leave my house very early, about 6, 7 o'clock in the morning. By the time I got to his room, I used to find him on his table dealing with files which concern various ministries. So on my arrival, I used to collect all those files that we have dealt with and distribute to the ministries concerned. So it was in 63-4 up to 63-4. Then I said in 64-5 I was posted to Borno again as provincial secretary, Borno province then. Then late 64, I was posted back Premier's office. And I was there 64, 65. So, as I mentioned, he was somebody rather untiring. He was doing work every now and then and touring around all the provinces, and really he was somebody very interested in progress of North in particular and Nigeria in general.
Traditional values and leadership. Sir Ahmadu Bello had a dual role as a regional leader and a potential traditional leader. His legitimacy among the traditional rulers is related to his family ties to Sheikh Usman Dan Fodio. This legitimacy allowed him to undertake reforms of the traditional emirates and chiefdom systems, taking cognizance of public opinion and in consultation with stakeholders. The Sardauna no doubt presented himself in his multiple identities as a modernizer and traditionalist, committed to change, but also preserving the best of the past by also modifying traditional institutions to suit evolving northern values. Sir Ahmadu Bello Sardauna also had a keen sense of competition for leadership. Even at a young age, he had developed enormous self-confidence and pride in what he represented, a blend of the past and the future. He was forceful in asserting himself, and in almost every situation, he emerged as a natural leader. Underlying all this was a fearlessness which was to characterize him throughout his life. Whether facing jail during the colonial era or facing challenges, he moved ahead without wavering. In fact, he had developed toughness in politics and skills in administration, while also noting that the political culture of the traditional leaders was part of the heritage of the Sardauna. At the Northern People's Congress NPC convention held in Jos in 1954, Sir Ahmadu Bello Sardauna made the following statement in a speech he delivered as the new leader of the party. We will retain and strengthen all our good customs and ways of life, which we think will not interfere with our modern development, and drop all our bad customs and ways, which we believe will hamper our onward progressive march. Sir Ahmadu Bello Sardauna of Sokoto, Premier of Northern Nigeria, Gamji or Iroko as widely known. The Northern Governors Forum, comprising governors from the 19 northern states, has initiated efforts to sustain the legacies of the late Premier. However, the present leadership of the forum, under the chief servant, Dr. Muazu Babangida Aliyu, OON, Talbamina, Governor of Niger State, has taken the issue to higher levels, and with the zeal and commitment being shown by the Governors Forum.
Every Nigerian child, particularly of northern extraction, may recall or might have heard the story of Nigerian independence, and particularly the effort of the leaders of the time. If you have not heard about free education in the West, and the stability and the unity of the North, and the enterprise of the East, then you have not heard the story of Nigerian independence up to the period of civil war. And for us, who are actually at a very young age, even though at a very young age, but within the period of understanding what was happening, or those of us who have come into close contact with Sardauna of Sokoto, will now appreciate the efforts of Sardauna and what he has done for the North. He may not have, or he might not have declared free education like Chief Awolowo did in the West. But believe me, what we heard and what our seniors had was more than free education, because we were even paid to stay in school. And the school was the best part of the society, where every child was eager for the morning to dawn so that he could go to school. And the discipline of the period and the teachers and the kind of esprit de corps among the students created an atmosphere that was very unique to the time, and particularly anybody who can compare with what is obtained now. The foundation that Sir Ahmadu Bello laid down, in fact the legacies that he had left, were the ones that are still being shown to any person in this part of the world. The roads constructed during his time, they are still more durable than the ones constructed now. The schools constructed during his time, they are still standing there. And not to talk about integrity, honesty, and accountability. When the Sardauna of Sokoto died, nobody could trace any foreign account, not to talk of, in fact, even domestic account. Indeed, the only house that could be said to be his was the one, the traditional one in Sokoto. And those are the kind of leaders, and those are the kind of leaders that people will respect, that people will follow blindly, that people will want to protect. Those are the kind of leaders that God in His mercy will ensure that people respect them even after many years of their death. So that is why we want to bring back the value system, the spirit that Sir Ahmadu Bello has left for us. And that is the spirit of integrity, the spirit of honesty, the spirit of accountability. And those are the legacies that we will also not only make sure that it's entrenched in the new system, but that our children and our grandchildren also continue to adopt. So that if we have nothing else, at least we will have a value system that the world will recognize, and that Nigeria will begin to regain its status and place in the world. And I believe that we should celebrate Chief Obafemi Awolowo, Dr. Nnamdi Azikiwe, Alhaji Abubakar Tafawa Balewa, as well as Sir Ahmadu Bello. And that is why we are doing what we are doing, and we do pray that it will click with the Nigerian people.
It seems the long-awaited new era of the Sardauna's Foundation has come to make this dream a reality.
Late Ahmadu Bello, may his soul rest in peace. I think it's a household name, not only in northern Nigeria, but in the great country. And he is worthy of emulation. And so what the northern governors under the dynamic leadership of our own governor of the state are trying to do, I think it's very commendable, and we support them, and we will continue to support them and give them our support.
Certainly all of us, the elder generation I'm talking about, were the beneficiaries of Sardauna's action, and by extension the younger generation also the beneficiaries of Sardauna's legacy. This is a selfless leader who has applied himself to the emancipation of northern Nigeria and the empowerment of northern Nigerians in the scheme of things in Nigeria of those days. Certainly, I commend the efforts of the generation now that are trying to set up a foundation in his name. It is an overdue, and I think all of us, we owe it to Sardauna to make sure that we wholeheartedly support this foundation and do whatever we can in order to immortalize such a blessing.
If we believe to Sardauna there is anything like pure nose, to him nose is one nose. None is adulterated, but to the Europeans they wanted to divide, put a wedge, so that the unity which could have been built, which Sardauna built, would not have been there. So that is Ahmadu put very briefly, and he died for the people.
His legacies will ever remain indelible in our minds and should be preserved for even generations yet unborn. Let us not forget our differences. Let us understand our differences, and in so doing, build unity in our country.
Kira,